Now, the reason why I bring up this chart is because it was brought to my attention today. This chart is apparently going around on the internet, Levy. It's a viral thing, and it's a chart, and it's obviously put together by somebody who has a great problem with religion, and what kind of religion? Any biblical religion, and they're trying to. And I don't really know who started this, to be honest. Okay, but I'm going to guess, just based on it, that you're trying to show how the biblical marriage between a man and a woman or whatever, try to make a joke out of it and show you how stupid it is and blah, 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 blah. And then they can probably say, once we've knocked that out, then we can say that two men can have, Larry can marry Joe.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I don't know if I'm right about that or not. I really don't. It just seems like it. Okay? It got the look and the feel of, this is put together by liberal, atheists, whatever, secularists who hate religion. Now, the problem here, Levy, is that this is about a biblical religion. And I have said so many times, so many times in the course of the year and a half that we've been doing this show, that Judaism is not a biblical religion. Judaism is a Talmudic religion. Judaism is a Talmudic religion. It is not a biblical religion. We do not read the Bible in
and ask us, oh God, explain these words to us. Open our hearts to understand your holy word.
The Bible is not supposed to be learned in a vacuum. The written Torah was not given by God to here's the written Torah and these are the laws. The written Torah is not a legal book. It's not a law book. We do not determine law based on the Bible. What we have for that is called the oral Torah. The oral Torah, which is found in the Talmud and in the other oral Talmud, the oral Torah literature, that was given to us at Mount Sinai by God, and that is what we follow, that is what we do. What is the written Torah used for? You know what I found? There was a great quote today by somebody, right? One of our viewers named Adam. Big shout out to Adam. He called it the notes that people take when they hear a lecture. I love that. Think of the written Torah as notes that somebody took after they heard a lecture. You can't go and say that you understand the lecture when you didn't attend the lecture, and all you have are some notes which were written in some gobbledygook. You don't really understand the writing. The person wrote it, like in a language you don't speak. It was translated, and it's only like got a minuscule of the information. You don't even know what you're talking about. If you think that this is what we follow as the laws, then you are completely ignorant. Okay? The worst kind of ignorant. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you need to shut the fuck up. Now, somebody put out this what do you call this thing? A graph. A JPEG. Thank you for that. This graph. And it's full of the worst kind of stupidities. It is all based on just the word of the Bible. But again, we are not a biblical religion. This has nothing to do with us. We are a Talmudic religion. And when you know, and the Bible, of course, is our doing. God told the Jews to write the Bible. And He dictated it word to word to us. But we also knew the oral Torah at the same time. And if you only have the Bible, the written, this is the kind of gross stupidities that you can, this is what comes out of it. These are the kind of things that you can expect to see when you don't have the oral Torah. It's like trying to follow the rules to something really complicated when you haven't read the rule book. What I am going to do, because I posted this today and there's some interest in it, because people want me to say, okay, explain each panel and what is wrong with this picture. I mean, there's just like everything wrong. In many of these panels, it's the exact opposite of what the panel says. And I will go through each one starting with, on the upper left-hand side. I'll move from left to right rather than from right to left. From left to right at the top, it says, man and woman is the nuclear family, quotes Genesis, wives subordinate to their husbands. Where does that come from? The Hechitese. Where do we know that wives are subordinate to their husbands? In Judaism, the Talmud tells us that it's an equal partnership. That the woman runs the home, okay, and the man he runs all the base medrash stuff. The man is in charge of the Torah in the house and bringing home the parnasa, bringing home the money, and the woman is in charge of the house, and he has to satisfy her. You know about this, right? When it comes to the bed.
Know about that. I've lived it. I mean, I've sweated great big drops of sweat trying to keep her satisfied.
The man has to satisfy the woman maritably, or whatever you want to call it. Her
Sexually.
Conjugal rights. She's entitled to that as one of the basic foundations of the marriage. If he doesn't fulfill her, doesn't satisfy her, vaginally, clitorically, anything, you know, if she demands
backdoor sex, he's got to.
If she wants
to the plate, with his Louisville Slugger.
If she wants it, if she requires that she be licked like in a figure 8 pattern,
right.
Then he has to do the figure 8. Like if she just wants
the alphabet,
or up and down, he has to comply. But there's nothing that says that she in any way has to satisfy him. So the whole idea that she's subordinate to her, I say bullshit. I would say he's more subordinate to her because he has to satisfy her in the bedroom, and she does not have to do that. Interfaith marriages are forbidden. I want to know where they got that from, because that is absolutely true, but let's understand who interfaith marriages are. Can we stop doing that, please? Interfaith is a Jew and a non-Jew. A Jew may not marry a non-Jew. That is not considered a marriage. Okay? You can call it whatever you want. That's not a marriage. Right? A Jew must marry a Jew, and a non-Jew may marry a non-Jew. A non-Jew can marry any kind of non-Jew. It doesn't matter. So I don't know what interfaith means, Levi. What does the interfaith mean here? Does it mean
Jew? Marrying non-Jews.
Where do they get that from? I don't know where they get that from. Marriage is generally arranged not based on romantic love. That is true. I don't know where they got that from, but that is true. But here's where the grotesque bullshit comes. Bride who could not prove her virginity was stoned to death. Bullshit! There is no such case of that. I don't know where they got it, but that's absolute falsehood. There is no such case of that. There's nowhere does it say that such a thing could ever happen. A bride who could not prove her virginity was stoned to death? That doesn't even make sense. The only times that we talk about a woman stoned to death based on the fact that she had sex with somebody is if she had sex she was married and she had sex with another man. But if she had premarital sex just with somebody else, just random sex, lady, can you picture such a thing?
If I use my imagination.
She could have sex every night with 5 different men, right? And they could be whatever. And she could have that going on. She could have screwed 4,000 different... She could be like some sex therapist. And
sex surrogate.
Sex surrogate therapist, whatever. And she could have 5,000 men. Yeah. And then she marries some guy. She's not stoned to death. She's not allowed to do any of those things because it's called an Isser Lav, because it's promiscuity, and each time she does it, she's violating the Torah. But none of those things carry the death penalty. We talked about this, I think, last week or the week before, that the only types of things that carry the death penalty for sex is if you do it with your mother, or God, we're getting back to incest again, right? You do it with your mother or your sister, right? Or your son or your daughter or whatever. You do it with a family member, or you do it with a married woman, or a married woman that does it with a guy. This is impossible. I don't know where they got it from, but it's bullshit. Next thing. It says a man and a brother's widow is the levirate marriage. That's true. But here's where they go way off the charts. Widow who had not borne a son required to marry her brother-in-law. A widow who had not had a son required to marry her brother-in-law. That is exactly the opposite. A brother-in-law of a woman who did not have a son is required to marry the widow. The brother-in-law, if his brother died, leaving the sister-in-law without a son, he is required to marry her. She's not required to marry him. He's required to marry her because she's entitled to a kid from this family, or a son from this family. If she didn't get one from her husband and he died, then she's entitled to get it from the brother. Now, we have a way out of that. It's called chalitza, right? So in actuality, we don't do Yavamos. Levirate marriage, which is Yavamos. We don't do it. We never did it because we always do chalitza, which you take a shoe and you bang it like Khrushchev, and then you're out of it, right? We'll be talking about this in a parsha coming up with Yehuda and Tamar. But the point is, if the woman really wants it, she can push that thing. It's for her own benefit. It's not to take advantage of the woman. It's that the woman should not be taken advantage of. So they've taken this thing and put it on it. They've turned this thing on its head. And then it says she must submit sexually to her new husband. No, he must submit sexually to her, unless they perform the chalitza. Oh God. Next one, man and wife and the concubines, and it's really cute because the concubine is dressed up like I Dream of Jeannie. That guy on my Facebook, Aaron, pointed that out. But okay, does everyone know what a concubine is? A concubine is a pelagish, right? A pelagish is a marriage. It's a marriage that doesn't contain hariyat mikudeshes li. It has no kedushin on it. She doesn't get a ketubah. She doesn't get a kasuba. So it's like, it'd be tantamount today with somebody that you're living together with, a common, what do they call it, a commonwealth? Or
common law marriage.
Common law marriage. It would be a common law marriage where you're shacked up with somebody, and then they're your significant other, but you never really got formally married, right? Kind of like Phil Jackson, who's the former Lakers coach, and what's her name? Jean Buss, who's the daughter. She's the
Laker owner.
She's the daughter of Laker owner. She's also like the executive something of the team. They've been living together for a while, and she calls him her common law husband. That's what a concubine is, right? It's not like some sort of sexy whatever. It's just somebody that they didn't have the formality of a marriage. We are not allowed to have concubines today. That the halacha is we stopped having those because it's a nicety to women, to our wives, to protect them. We make sure we guarantee that they get a kasuva. So having a concubine is something that we're not even allowed to have today. Next says the rapist and his victim. This one is really grotesque. It says the virgin who is raped must marry her rapist. No. It's that the rapist who rapes a woman must marry her.
If she wants to be married.
If she wants to be married from her, he must do it. That's a punishment against him to protect her, not the other way around. We don't reward the rapist. We don't say, "Oh, you raped her. Good job, buddy. You can keep her. Woo! Way to get your dick inside her. That was really good." No, we don't do that. What kind of fucking religion do you think we are? No, it's that if the woman gets raped, now you might say, why would she want that? Well, I can think of a couple of reasons. What if it went around town that she has now done it with this guy, right? And she might want it for her own protection, say, well, you deflowered me, now you're stuck with me. She might do that. What if she got pregnant from this guy?
There's something going on right here. Okay,
thanks for letting me know, because that spittle could ruin the whole segment. Everybody's like, hey, what's going on with this spittle? Thanks for that. Now, what if she got pregnant? Now you're thinking, well, just get an abortion, but maybe there was a time and place where they couldn't get abortions, right? Right? And she had to have this...
What if the guy was rich?
Oh, then she gets a piece of it, right? But so wait, let's get two parts of this.
He gets a piece of her, she gets a piece of him.
Okay, so wait, two things on this. Wait, first of all, the part with the abortion, if he got her pregnant, she had to have his kid. Why should she have to bring the kid up on her own? Let him take some responsibility for it. It's his kid, right? So force him to marry her, right? So it's like a paternity suit thing, right? And the other thing that Levi's mentioning is, what if this guy's filthy rich? What if Kobe Bryant raped some Jewish chick, right? She's like, hey, you know what? I want a buyout option, right? I want a $5 million ring, right? So it's a deterrent. It's preventive measures to keep a man from raping a woman, because he realizes he's in this thing for the long haul if he does it. Keep your snake inside the grass, boys, because you let it out and you're going to have to pay for these Jewish women the rest of your life. Okay, any questions so far?
No.
Okay, next one. Man and a woman's property. It says, man could acquire his wife's property, including her slaves. And look, it has the slave with like chains on her, right? It's like, she might as well have an afro, right, and be named Thelma coming off the boats, right, in Georgia. That's not exactly, it says that a slave, first of all, a slave is a terrible translation. We talked about that. Better it's call it indentured servant. These people had freedom, but, and they were, what does it say? What does the Talmud say? When you hire a slave,
you hire a master.
Because if there's one pillow in the house, who gets it, Levi?
The slave.
The servant gets it. The servant. It's not a slave. It's a servant. It's not a slave. There are no slaves in Torah. There are indentured servants, right, who go to work to pay off a bad loan or money that they stole from you. And can you mistreat these people? No, you have to treat them better than you treat yourself. So if there's only one pillow in the house, that person gets it, right? Okay, so let's not use the word slave. They're just indentured servants. They don't have chains on them. Ugh. It says man could acquire his wife's property, including her slaves. It says Genesis 16, right? You know what that is, Levi? That's the story of Sarah handing over Hagar, her shifcha, her handmaid, or whatever you want to, her servant, over to Abraham. And it makes it sound like she's the property of Sarah, and she just handed him over and said, here, enjoy. No. The shifcha, Hagar, had a choice in the matter. She was like, okay, Hagar. She basically said, hey, if you two want to do it, that would be good because I can't give birth. So, I can give Abraham a son if you're willing to do it. And she said, sure, I'll do it. I love a little Jewish action.
Little Jewish action. Great magazine.
Yes. So she went for it, but it's not that that he acquired her against her will. Okay? I mean, come on. Next one. Male soldier and a prisoner of war. I've seen this before. This is just unbelievable. Okay. All right. It says, under Moses' command, Israelites kill every Midianite man, woman, and child, except for the virgin girls who are taken as spoils of war. Okay, wives must submit sexually to their new owners, and it quotes Numbers 31 and Deuteronomy 21. This I've seen before. This just gets me nauseated. Okay, there's two separate parshas. Are you paying attention to this at all? What are the two parshas? One is the story of the Midianites, right? Mm-hmm. The Jews go out right after Midian try to get us. They got us to the men to fornicate with the women. So God said, you know what? Go destroy these people. Okay, go destroy these people. So they went out, and they brought home. They went out and killed all the men or whatever. And they brought home all the women and the children. And Moses said, what the hell are you doing? You're not supposed to bring back the women because these are the same women that caused you to sin. So what they did was any woman who was able to have, she was at the age where she was able to have sex, they were killed because these were the problematic ones, right? But the girls who were under the age of that they're able to have sex, right? They were spared. They were kept alive because obviously they had nothing to do with the problem. Okay? So, but this implies, what's written here in this chart implies that they went out and killed everybody, but they brought home all the virgin girls, and because they're spoils of war. No, they saved. See, this is like almost anti-Semitic. They saved the lives of all the women, but Moses said, no, you can't save the lives of the women who are part of this problem, because that is exactly who we need to destroy. God said to destroy those who caused us to sin. Right? There was no reason to kill the virgin girls, the underage girls, there was no reason to kill them. So that was a kindness, it was an unnecessary to kill those girls because they were innocent. Not because they were virgins and we wanted them for ourselves because we like young virgins. That's not the reason. Okay, and it says wives must submit sexually to their new owners. That's talking about, this is a bad translation, a bad understanding of Deuteronomy 21, which is talking about the Yaphes Toar, which is the
woman taken captive.
The captive woman, thank you. The captive woman, it says that when you go to war and you come back, you find like some really hot Vietnamese chick, because you're in Da Nang for 6 years, and like you found some
Pyongyang,
right? And she says, "Oh, I make sucky sucky," right? So like you marry her and you bring her home. And Torah understands that war has a way on a guy, and it makes him so horny, me so horny, right? He comes home and he has this woman with him. So Torah says, hey, what do you got to do? You want this woman? We need to prove that you're not taking her just for sex. Okay, so you're going to have to take some actions now to prove that she is not yours for sex, that you're taking her because you really want a wife. So it says you have to shave her head, right? I think clip her fingernails or something, make herself ugly. Maybe for Levi, she has to put in a couple of piercings in a few places, like really turn him off. And then you lock her away, for like 3 months or something. And if you still want her after that, then we say, okay, so it's not because of sex, it's because you really want this person. And then she converts and she becomes your wife. Okay? And if she decides she doesn't want to do it, or you decide you don't want to do it, then you're allowed to have her stay on as a indentured servant, whatever. Okay, but the point is, it's not about sex. She's not a sex slave. It's the opposite of sex. We need to prove that you picked her up because you're really interested in her, because she's a very smart young lady, and you want to have her as your wife. Okay? So we need to prove that you're not just doing this for sex. But what this is turned around and said is, these wives must submit sexually to their new owners. It's because she wants to, because she's your wife. Okay. The next one is man and woman and woman and woman is polygamy. Well, first of all, it's polygamy. Learn the word. Yes, we're allowed to have that according to the Torah, and it brings like all these sources, and that is the biblical. That is actually the first thing that they got right. That's the first one of these panels that's 100% right. The only thing I would add to it is that Jews have 1,000 years ago, we have a rabbinical decree from Rabbeinu Gershon for the Ashkenaz Jews. We can't do this anymore, right? Because we used to have more than one wife, right? But the Rambam talks about it. He's not Ashkenaz, and about 100 years later, he's talking about it's not. You can have more than one wife, and the non-Ashkenazi, or at least the Sfard, stopped having more than one wife in 1948. So this is actually factual. So this is like the one panel that's okay. And by the way, this is my argument why it's such a dangerous idea to legalize same-sex marriage. Because once you legalize same-sex marriage in America, you're just what about a polygamous couple? They're not a couple. They're
a threesome.
A foursome in this case. If you have a foursome, what's keeping? Why don't they have rights? Especially when they actually have a biblical, legitimate source for it. Now, Jews don't have any source for it anymore. But if you're just a goy who follows the Bible, you have a source for it, and you might have 3 wives, right? And you may live in Utah, wherever they live, and you're like, well, why can't I? I follow the Bible. I have 3 wives. It says I'm allowed to. Why? Larry and Jack live next door to me, and they're now considered married, and they're 2 guys, which the Bible says is an abomination, and we allow that. Why can't I be married to these 3 women?
Yeah.
Betty,
Sally,
and Diane. So I would say equal protection clause, 14th Amendment, right?
Yeah.
If Larry and Jack next door can, and that's called a marriage, I don't see on where America has legal grounds to stop this foursome. I absolutely believe it falls under once you open up the door, once you change the definition of marriage from one man and one woman, you open up the door to all kinds of marriages, and it won't be long before some animal lover nut wants to marry their dog. That's around the corner too, right? So if the liberals are going to allow the one thing, they've got to let them all in, and I think that's just a hop, skip, and a jump down to one Supreme Court decision that's going to allow this.
Yep.
And once you allow that, what's the problem? Well, now you can just pretty much count the generations, maybe 3, I don't know, before the idea of a man and a woman together as a marriage normality is going to be gone. And because when Levi knows he's allowed to marry 3 women, right? Why would he settle for one? So basically now the concept of settling for one chick is going to be gone. It's going to be ancient history within 100 years, and every guy is going to want more than one chick. And when that happens, now women are going to have a hard time trying to find a guy, right? And they're going to have to settle for being one of 3 wives or 4 wives, right? So this hurts women's rights. This is an attack against women because it puts them in a situation where they're never protected. They're always going to be in a situation now that they're going to have 5 wives, be one of 5 wives, you know. And if that's what you want to put women in that situation. If you're, please don't tell me that you stand up for women's rights. Please do not call yourself a feminist and a women's rights advocate, right? When you also are preaching same-sex marriage. You can only have one. Because when you preach that same-sex marriage should be legal in America, you just stabbed all of your girlfriends in the back, because all future women were going to have to eventually face up to the fact that they will only ever be one of 5 women married to the guy. Am I right, Levi? Do I have a point?
I think there's something to that.
Thank you. And very last thing, I know you're getting antsy over there. A male slave and a female slave. Again, it's not male servant. It's not a male slave. It's a male indentured servant with a female indentured servant. And it says that the owner could assign the female to his male. And the female must submit sexually to their new husbands. It makes it sound like you can take like out of one and throw it into the house of the other and say, go at her. But it's not like that at all. In the Gemara says Referish in Kedushin, Tractate Kedushin, Masechta Kedushin, I think it's in 15, I don't know, you can look it up, 15a, I think. It says over there that Rabbi Lezer says no, it's that it has to have the agreement of these people. You can't just, the pasuk, if you see, this is where they fall off because they only know it in English. If you look at the pasuk says it has the word lo in it, and the pasuk, the verse has the word lo, which means not. So it really is the opposite of this. It means that the owner can't do that. He must get the permission of the 2 involved. So actually, then what is the verse coming in to teach us? It's teaching us that a male Eved and a female Shifcha, the 2 servants, are allowed to marry each other. You're allowed to have them get married while they're in captivity or whatever you want. While they're serving you, you're allowed to make marriages between these people. These people are allowed to get married to each other. Torah is coming and saying that you might think that they're not allowed to get married to each other until they finish their servitude. We come and learn that these people are allowed to get married while they're there. So I think it's a nicety, right? And they have a say in it. But once again, they take these words out of context. They don't know how. They mistranslate. They don't know how to read Hebrew. They don't have the oral Torah behind it, and then you end up with like this whole page of stupidity. All right. If you have any questions, contact me. I'm going to give you the link to that. You can post it on your blog tomorrow. I'm also going to try to put that up on my own Facebook so everybody can have a look at that. Okay. Any questions, Levi?
No. Let's open it up the chat room, see if people have said anything.
All right. Let's see.